what I have with me is my sister, Dr. Deima on the tour. And let me give you a little bit about this credential. This lady, she's incredible. She's professional. She knows her stuff. No nonsense. And when she and I met together, we just clicked. Right, Dr.
We
Deima?
certainly did.
And and of course, she's very intelligent. Ask a lot of good questions, and she researched, she does stuff, and now she became, like I said, the queen of annuity. So, Dr. Deima, welcome on the show.
Thank you so much, Shirley. Thanks for having me.
Oh, good. So, Dr. Deima, I know that when you and I met, you play in the world of Fortune 100 companies, and as you're going out there. And you're talking to people and things like that. And I know you and I had a conversation the other day about people retiring and things like that. And I think sometimes people come to you and said, okay, I'm about to retire. I've got this 401k, and I still want to play in the market, but then at the same time, they're afraid of the market. So what is your thoughts on some of these things when you're talking to them about the money?
So there are a few things that are really shocking to me all the time, is that people really don't have a plan. And I like to say, when you don't have a plan, you plan to fail.
Okay, that happens.
So the first thing is they really don't put any attention on their finances, especially in the earlier stages. But if there's a 401k, usually those funds are kept with the employer plan, and there's a lot of restriction where they really don't have a lot of freedoms to move it out for as long as they work for that employer. Now, once somebody switches jobs, generally they will take that 401k and roll it with their, the new employer. However, that's not the best move. Shirley, as you know, it's always better to roll it out into something that they control, something like a self-funded pension, an annuity plan, or just manage it in a self-directed brokerage or something like that to invest it in the market. So this way they have access to all of the investment, not just the ones that the employers will restrict them to.
Absolutely. But you know what, a lot of people, when they do leave a job, they're like, I've got a new job and this new 401k makes me feel safe. Because when it comes to their retirement, they're concerned, okay, if I give you the money, how safe is it?
Oh, yeah. So the truth behind all of this is it's all in the market, and the market is a roller coaster. There's ups and downs. So it's okay if somebody's in the early stages of life is to leave it in the market for 20, 30 years, because these fluctuations will even themselves out over time. However, if you're nearing retirement, being in the market is not necessarily a good move, because if the market is negative 20 or 30% that year, you're really taking your money out at a discount, especially as you get closer to retirement. So we really like to stabilize the funds and protect them from negative market returns.
Okay, so what kind of fund would you consider folks out there would like to know, like, okay, if I've got a 401k, I just left my job, or maybe I have, other, in the federal agency in the Washington, D.C. area, the government's called TSP.
Correct.
So what are some of those unique product that you're talking about?
So generally there is a growth fund that we can place the money or roll over the funds into, so there's no tax implication to doing so. And that will invest it in the market, but it will give you a protection of a 0% floor, as well as no fees. We have a lot of fantastic growth product, as you all know, that have literally no fees, but there's also greater return on the investment. There's also something called self-funded pensions that a lot of people are completely unaware of.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And how does that work?
So a self-funded pension is very similar to Social Security.
Okay.
It's a guaranteed payment for the rest of your life. So you could roll over your 401k into a guaranteed self-funded pension, and it will, once you turn on income, it will guarantee that income for the rest of your life. And the really good thing about those is if you're married, you can also add your spouse into the self-funded pension, so the income does not run out until both lives are no longer around.
Wow, okay.
Yes.
So if that's the case, well, let's say if I open the account and something happens to me, what happened to the money?
It stays with the beneficiaries that you designate.
Oh,
so
okay.
that could be the children, a spouse, an estate, a charity, whatever you designate, whatever money that's not used, it goes to your beneficiaries, basically.
Because
so nothing really is lost.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Well, because one of the old myths really was like, okay, you go into these kind of plan, your family don't get any of the money, they keep all the money,
Yes.
And speaking of, you mentioned briefly about the funding, where you have the growth of the fund and not lose and all that. some of these things been told by other folks, oh, you can't make kind of growth that in these account. You're limited, you don't make as much growth, you're restrictive, you know, you got fees, you got, I mean, just bukus of stuff. I just always surrender one. Yes. So I know I gave you a mouthful, but can you break down
each one? Absolutely, I would love to. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to, you know, inform people that annuities have been around since 1759.
Wow.
It is something that is as old as our country. It has literally been established soon after our country had been established. Now, the thing about annuities is because it's a very ancient instrument in a way, it had evolved quite a bit over the years. It was started or formed by a company in Pennsylvania through Presbyterian ministers.
Okay.
So at the time, there was some civil upset, and people would lose their lives because of minutiae on the road, you know, some civil rights issues and what's not. And so these ministers came together as a group and they created a common fund. They all contributed to it, and they said if something is to happen to one of the members of the fund, that their families or the survivals would receive lifetime payments. So this way the survivals do not suffer during those times. And so that's literally the inception point of annuities in our country. So it's a very, very ancient, old instrument, and it had evolved quite a bit over the years. Now, when you speak to people who really are not in the field, they're not as plugged in and not as connected, they really don't know about the evolutions or the latest and greatest development in the world of annuities. So certainly there is surrender. There is certainly, some of them have fees. There's something called immediate annuities. There's deferred annuities. Some of them, some of them are designed in a way that you want income immediately, and you might vouch the balance to the company if you pass and don't use the funds. But we never set our clients up with that. It is not something that we endorse ever. As a matter of fact, we like to educate the public usually on their choices, because people work so hard for their money. So we try to put their money and preserve it for their use, and if they do not use all of the funds, we can pass it on to their family members. You know, they work so hard, we would like to keep it in the family, as we like to say in finance.
So back to that, what are some of the safety net, you know, where someone can say, okay, you know, if I'm going to give you $500,000 of my life saving away, I have a concern about how good is the company? Are they safe? Can I get some kind of assurance that I don't lose? I mean, because that's my whole life saving, and it's very difficult, you know.
Correct. So the nice thing is when you shop for annuities, the quality of the annuity product is as good as the company, because that's one of the biggest risk factors. So you really want to make sure that this company has a fantastic financial standing, and that they've been in business for a long time, and they truly have a quality product with great value for their customers. The second piece is to take a look at the product that you're getting into. Is it really a good fit, right? And to make sure that that money will pass on to your beneficiaries, and so on and so forth. Also, the quality of the annuity depends on the instruments that are available to you in that annuity, right? So if the investment options in that annuity are not top-notch, then your annuity probably is not going to perform. So you often, you know, we have people coming to us from other advisors, and they say, well, I've owned an annuity before, and it was a terrible decision. And we look at the annuity, it's like, no wonder, right? You know, that this annuity is not really a high-quality instrument for your money. So $500,000, I did a TikTok video on this that went viral.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen out there, you know what? I could not believe it. She had millions. Now, did you hear what I just said? Millions of viewers saw her on this TikTok video, and I'm like, I saw her too. Please share with the audience what happened with this. This thing went crazy.
So basically, in this TikTok video, it reached millions of people across the globe, and it was shared more than 40,000 times. And we got so overwhelmed with the response, because I was covering the concept of self-funded pension and annuities, which is a guaranteed income for life annuity. And I just put a very simple illustration to say, if you had saved $500,000 today and you're 55 years old and you're going to retire at age 65, how much guaranteed income will that $500,000 yield? And by age 65, it will yield $53,000 a year for the rest of your life. I mean, you think about it. How many 50,000s do you have in a $500,000 fund, right? if you happen to be one of the lucky few in our country, actually now, Shirley, as you know, the longevity table that are published by our government, people are living longer. So today we have more centenarians. We actually have in the U.S. today standing at the end of 2024 about 14 people that are above 100 years of age.
Wow.
And so people are likely to live longer. You know, if you look in human history, 80 years ago, people did not many made it past 60, 65.
Yeah.
And today, people, it's very common to be in your 85, pushing to 90, 95. I personally know women in their 90s, 94. I even know a 99-year-old that still drives. Now, in those cases, especially for women, you know, we tend to live longer. We tend to keep most of our faculties for much longer duration. But usually the biggest problem is, are we going to run out of money?
Yep.
And I have seen very hard cases in reality that they did run out of money.
I know, and my mom's 92.
Yes.
And by the way, I think my mom's 92, and I think she can outrun you and I out there most of the time.
She drives, she volunteers,
and she lifts like 50 pounds.
Correct.
You know, 75.
Correct.
I could not believe it. Oh,
incredible.
She's spunky as anything, you know.
Yes, absolutely. And so there's a lot of those cases. So really, when we're looking at retirement and we're working at the instrument of annuity, annuity is not a magic anything, right?
Yeah.
It is a specific instrument to address a specific situation or problem. If you haven't saved enough money, the growth annuity can allow you to grow your money and multiply it, so it's ready for you. If you want to protect from the risk of running out of money in retirement, which is a very big risk, guess what? There is a guaranteed income for life annuity that you can absolutely do. If you want to pass on money to heirs, you know, if you pass it on to the next generation, have you guys heard about this thing called estate annuity that truly allows you to pass on the money in very advantageous way, you know, avoiding probate and getting all of these amazing, amazing advantages. So yeah, annuities is not a one-all solution for everything, but it's a very targeted for specific cases.
703-608-1203, Shirley Luu and Associates. And by the way, remember, we rise by uplifting others.